Will I be able to see their comments and everything too?
You should be able to.
I see you. Oh. Okay, do you have your thing? Quiet. I wonder if I can make this bigger. Hi everyone. We're just trying to maneuver our first pre-scheduled Facebook Live event. So we wanted to get on just a couple minutes early, not too early, to just let everybody see that we're here and go ahead and get on. So we'll get started in just a minute. Hope everybody's doing well. Hope you had a chance to view the Path Forward video yesterday. I know it was a little bit long. I apologize for that. But we wanted to try to go over all those different solutions and things that we have planned. And then that Pathway Forward document, the whole thing, if you're looking to read and learn more and more specifics, is already listed on our website. So that's there for you. So thank you for joining us. I see we already have 69 people watching. That's a high number for us. So 75, great. Hi everyone. Hope you're all doing well. I don't know if on my end I'm going to be able to see the questions in the chat. So I have our wonderful operations coordinator, Miss Nicole, here, social distance on the other side of the room from me, so she can, and she has her mask, so she can let me know if what the questions are in case I can't see them. So I can't see any yet. But I am ready. It is 7 o'clock on the dot, and we already have 95 viewers, 98 people watching. So, well, I will tell you that we will be transparent and tell you what we know. We will tell you if we don't have an answer to your question yet and that we're working on it. And then you may ask questions of things that we haven't thought about. We're not so naive to think that we've thought through every scenario and everything. So there may be questions that we put down as something that we will get an answer to, and then we'll put it out in our next FAQ document. So go ahead and type your questions in the chat box, and then we will answer them as they come up. Do we have any questions yet?
Not yet. I'm just reminding everyone with a remind that.
Not yet. Oh, she's sending one more remind. Well, we already have 121 people, so I feel like that's a lot. Like I said, there is on our website in the bar at the top as you scroll across, there's something about supply lists, and then there's a whole reopening page. And if you click that reopening page, you'll see that we're going to start archiving. Every video that we make will be there. Every email that we send out or letter, every FAQ document that we create will be there. So that's just there for you to go back for your easy reference. We don't have to search through all your emails and find whatever it is that you're looking for. So hopefully it'll be a good resource for you to look at, and we'll keep everything right there for you, all in one place. One-stop shop. So we are just waiting for you to type your questions in the comments so we can answer them. It's our first live Q&A, but I don't have any Q's yet. We're waiting. But we have 153 viewers.
Somebody has to have a question.
Someone has to have a question out there. We know we haven't thought of everything yet. I hear noises. Those are not comments coming in.
It's telling us that more people have joined.
Oh, more people have joined. Okay.
Maybe we
Well,
have a question about the bus lottery, which is going to run next week.
Okay, we can talk about a couple things we know that are coming up just until we start getting questions in our box. It's maybe our first and last live Q&A.
We have a question, and it's from Remind. Is there still a modified version for returning to school?
Okay, is there still a modified version for returning to school? Is the question that somebody sent in through Remind. I can tell you that I am aware that Lake County is giving 3 options: the return face-to-face, a full virtual experience, which is not the same as what we're offering with our telelearning, and a modified day where it's some in school and some classes through Florida Virtual. We are not able to offer a modified experience. I don't have a certified virtual school to plug kids into, and I certainly don't have the staff to man all three of those programs and do a great job. We have tried very hard to create a program for telelearning and to create an in-person program that's not too taxing on our staff and our teachers, that doesn't have them working a ton of extra hours, but that we create something that we can do a really good job at. So a modified schedule will not be an option for Imagine Southlake. We have the in-person or the telelearning. Aftercare, great question. When will aftercare information be provided? So we are going to, on Monday, will be, I know I've told you Friday is the cutoff for getting registered for telelearning. So then Monday we'll run the bus lottery, and we'll get the bus contract out to those parents, and then we'll send aftercare information out pretty quickly after that. Very early next week. Aftercare rates are not changing. The aftercare registration will be online for you, so we'll make it as easy as possible. The Square website for Imagine Southlake will be set up so that it can be cashless, and we want to have as many contactless transactions as we can. So that information is coming to you soon, very early next week. We wanted to get the bus lottery done first, so just in case somebody doesn't get a seat on the bus, then they'll have an opportunity to sign up for aftercare. So we want to make sure that whoever needed it knew whenever we sent.
So I guess there's an issue. It's Facebook is telling them that they have to watch the video for at least 15 minutes before they can ask a question. So some people have just joined, aren't able to ask questions, but they are sending them in through a remind.
Okay. So Miss Nicole just sent out a remind message, and you can reply to that remind message directly if Facebook isn't letting you submit your questions. Maybe you can reply to a question that's already there.
We have someone who wants to know about what percentage of the student body will be face-to-face versus telelearning.
Right now, we have about 80% of our students face-to-face and about 20% signed up for telelearning. That's our current percentage, and hopefully we're nearing the end of any kind of switching that's happening so we can get our final program and staffing in place. The reason I think I've shared that's so important is so I can make sure that I have enough teachers in the right places and the right grade levels before I start assigning students to teachers and getting class lists out. Teachers are anxious to get those, and they want to be calling our families soon. And I see a question about the dress code for virtual students. So that has not been decided yet. We're presenting our plan to our school board on next week, and that'll be something that we do discuss, whether they need to be in uniform shirt or not. And we will let you know the answer to that.
If the parent opts to do telelearning instead of the traditional in-person, does the child have to be withdrawn from Imagine?
So that's a great question. I don't know if you guys could hear Nicole, but the question is, if the parent wants to do telelearning instead of the face-to-face, is the child withdrawn from Imagine? That's a great question. So the whole reason we have offered what the state is calling an innovative learning environment, the telelearning program for us, is so that we get to keep all our warriors and all our kids, and you don't lose your spot. And that's one reason I've been very passionate about it. I'll be honest, it would be easier for us not to do that and just say everyone needs to come back. But we are passionate about providing services to our families and serving our families based on their needs. And so the fact that we have about 20% of our population who has a need to do telelearning means that we need to adapt and change with the times and create that innovative learning environment for them. So you absolutely will still be an Imagine Southlake warrior. You will not lose your space at Imagine. And that's really what drove us to want to kind of differentiate ourselves between what some other places around us are doing, is to make sure that we take care of the students that we've already enrolled here.
We have some more questions. Will children face punishment if they don't keep masks on or take them off?
So the question is, will the mask requirement be punitive? As of this time, we don't plan to add consequences and punitive measures to that. We want to model for them first what the adults in the building will be modeling for them what the expectations are. We think it's important for parents to partner with us in the expectation, and I think that the attitude of the kids when they have to wear the mask will depend a lot on how the parents help support us with that at home. We want you to be teaching them to wear their masks for short periods of time. No one's going to be having to sit as a student and wear their mask the entire school day. We want to create those cohorts so there's safe places for them to have their mask off. But right now, those will be non-punitive measures, and we'll try to teach and model and provide a mask for them if they forgot theirs at home for the day.
Someone wants to know, do you anticipate school being postponed at Imagine?
I know that is something that that several districts around us are doing. Imagine Southlake's charter contract with the county says that we'll follow their school schedule, and I know that they have a school board meeting next week, and I think that the reopening will be something that they talk about a lot at their school board meeting, and so I think that it's a possibility, and as soon as I know, I will get that information out to you.
Is there potential for teachers to have both telelearning and face-to-face students at the same time?
So no, our teachers will not be teaching at the same time, students in person and virtually. We've scheduled our middle school schedule to allow those teachers to do telelearning in a separate block where they do not also have kids face to face. And for elementary, we'll be reassigning staff so that they are only teaching telelearning and engaging with those kids. So no, there's not going to be a mix of live and on a Google Meet at the same time. We don't think that that's the best way to engage anybody, either the kids online or the kids in front of them, and certainly that causes some difficulty for the teachers.
What is the policy if someone exhibits COVID symptoms? Will Imagine follow the Lake County safety protocol of isolating and sending them home?
We absolutely. So if someone's showing COVID symptoms, so the first thing we want to do is teach our kids what the symptoms are, because we want them to be personally responsible and help monitor themselves. And as soon as they have one of those symptoms, tell an adult either at home or at school, and that will be such a huge help to us. But we will absolutely have an isolation room that only students who are symptomatic will be in. We'll have full personal protective equipment for the nurse that is in there with that room, and they will be immediately isolated, and then that parent will be given information about testing locations, and we'll follow the recommendations from the CDC and the Florida Department of Health about what comes next at that point. So absolutely, those will be isolated just as soon as a symptom arises.
This says, at pickup, the students normally get corralled in a classroom. How will you be doing this differently in order to keep students safe?
Oh goodness, that's a good question about pickup. So I don't know if you can hear Nicole, but the question is, normally at pickup, students are all corralled in the classroom, and what will we do differently? So this has been one of our greatest challenges operationally, as we try all day long as much as we can to keep commingling from happening with other classes. We know at dismissal that it's near impossible to prevent commingling, so that's going to be one of the times that we're requiring that students wear their mask during that time to help mitigate the risk as much as we can. We are going to be separating out our car lines and running 2 separate car lines so that all of the campus isn't just in one location. So it'll be fewer grade levels on the actual car rider line side where it normally is. And then after the bus is dismissed, there will be some grade levels that are dismissing from the front of the school. I'm pointing to it like you can see what I'm pointing to. That some grade levels will dismiss from the front of the school in the bus loop, and we'll run that as an additional car line. And that is going to help us in a few different ways. It will help us from completely commingling everyone and hopefully keeping that a little bit narrowed down. And it will help us make sure that during a transition, our whole school isn't going to the same place. So we want to try to keep traffic flow moving in one direction so there's not a lot of face-to-face interaction. But we will definitely be requiring masks at that point, because that is going to be a challenge for us. And I see a question about, if a child tests positive for COVID-19, will the entire class be quarantined for 2 weeks? If we have a positive case, whether it's an adult or a child, we will work with the Florida Department of Health to do our contact tracing. And our goal with trying to keep these groups of students together all day is to try to keep the contact tracing of exposure to as few students or as small of a group as possible. In a school with face-to-face learning, we're not going to be perfect with doing that all the time, but we think that we've made every reasonable and feasible effort, given the mandate that we have to reopen, to do that as much as we can to try to narrow it down to as small of a group as we can. So the the Florida Department of Health will give us that recommendation. I'm glad that that's not a decision that I have to make. But yes, I definitely think there will be times if there's a positive case and your child has come in close contact with that person who is positive, and as of now, close contact is defined as less than 6 feet for longer than 15 minutes. But they will also talk about what kind of PPE was worn during that time before making a decision, is my understanding. I can tell you we'll be doing some contact tracing coursework with the CDC or Johns Hopkins University so that the nurses and I have a better understanding of contact tracing. But yes, there will definitely, I am expecting there to be times where we have to self-isolate classrooms or small groups or groups of people who have been together on campus if there's a positive case until either that 10-day passes or possibly a negative test is returned. So I definitely think that that is probably going to be happening at some point. Just being honest with you guys, I want you to know what we're heading into. We're going to do everything that we can to avoid that and make sure it doesn't happen. But I also want you to know that we are prepared and we have a plan for what we'll do if it does, so that we have a quick response time and we can communicate with you as transparently and quickly as we can if it does happen.
So some people say that they can hear me when I ask the question, but others can't. So they would like for you to repeat the question when you answer.
Okay, I'll repeat every question Nicole asks.
Is there before care because only aftercare was mentioned?
Okay, there is before care, and it will be in Imagine Hall, socially distanced at tables only. So just know if your kids come into before care, they're not going to be out playing basketball and running around Imagine Hall playing the games that we usually get to play in the morning. There, it will be seated at tables, socially distanced. Bus riders will not be in Imagine Hall, so that will help us keep the limits of the numbers of kids down in Imagine Hall for before care. Temperatures will be taken when they're dropped off in the morning for before care, and so they'll be cleared before they head in to start their day. But yes, before care too.
What capacity are buses expected to run at?
The capacity for buses, we honestly don't know yet because we're waiting until Monday to look at who is face to face, because they'll have priority seating on the buses for the first semester. I'm not going to be able to save seats for people who are telelearning. I've been very honest with that with everyone that asks. I do anticipate that in the spring we may have some changes, and so those seats would be prioritized for people who are previous bus riders. But our bus capacity is normally around 60, and it will be close to that if we can get them that full. We'll still be 2 to 3 to a seat. They will be sanitizing on the way in. They'll be wearing their mask. Absolutely, that's non-negotiable. Their temperatures will be cleared before they board the bus. There will be assigned seating on the bus, and siblings will put together. Kids in the same class who are already commingling when they get to school will sit together. So we'll be very purposeful about the assigned seating and where they're going to go. But I do want to be completely transparent and honest with you, as I know I keep saying over and over, but I just want you to know that it will be very difficult for us to social distance on the bus, and I expect our buses will be pretty full, maybe not as full as they were last year.
Will children in the same class be allowed to interact at recess, or will they be kept socially distanced?
So we're trying to treat each class as kind of that nuclear family, that they're together during the day. And so when they're in very close proximity inside, if they're working in a small group together or something where they're shoulder partners and they're working very closely together, we'll ask them to have their mask on. But that group will go to recess together, and we're going to separate recess so that they're not all in one place and they're in different places. But we are not going to give them a box at recess and have them stand in it and not play with other kids. We know that outside is one of the safest places to be during this, and we know that we want them to have fresh air and we want them to enjoy recess whenever they're out there.
Will there be multiple grade levels in one telelearning class?
Will there be multiple grade levels in one telelearning class? Not in middle school. In middle school, they will follow a pretty regular school day. They'll get their schedule and they'll engage with that grade level and that content area teacher at a specific time each day. Elementary does look different, and we do have some teachers who will be doing multiple grade levels, but still, those kids in those grade levels will have a very specific schedule of what they'll follow during the day and when they're engaging with live instruction on through Google Meets at a certain time and a certain subject area during the day, and when they will have their time to do their independent work. So the state has made very clear that they're like I said, they're calling it an innovative learning environment, but it has to mimic very closely a school day and it has to match the instructional minutes of a school day. So we'll be working to create a schedule to make sure that we meet those requirements for the students who are telelearning this year.
What will be done with the bus riders in the morning?
What will be done with the bus riders in the morning, because I said they're not going to Imagine Hall. So we expect that our bus routes are going to take a little bit longer because of the temperature checks and the sanitizing and making sure that we get those procedures and processes in place. I think we'll get them running smoothly pretty quickly, but anytime we do anything new, and this is certainly very, very new for us, but anytime we try anything new, it may take some tweaking. So we think our routes are going to take a little bit longer. We're not going to bring our routes onto campus. We're going to structure them so they don't arrive here prior to 8 a.m. So then as soon as they get here at 8 a.m., they'll be ready to go straight to their homeroom. So it also helps prevent one more layer of commingling for them in the morning. If they get off the bus, they're sanitizing getting off the bus, and then they're going directly to their homeroom. So we'll be taking care of them in the morning. It's just that our bus runs will look a little bit different, and we'll be working on what those schedules look like. But our goal is to not get them here before 8.
Will the kids be changing classes for charge?
For charge, will the kids be changing classes in K-5? No. That would be one thing that we're sad about, because we love that time. We love differentiating for students' needs at that time. Students who need intervention, enrichment, and innovation activities will be getting that during that block in their homeroom. And so we will be still dedicating that time of the day for our intervention so that we have fidelity to that. That's part of our academic model and our program, and we'll stay true to that. But they will get it in their classroom with their homeroom teacher, which will give their homeroom teacher a little bit more flexibility also to make sure that we're meeting every student's needs during that block. So those things will take place in the classroom this year with their homeroom teacher.
Do you have procedures in place yet on how you will handle if any children or staff have specific symptoms? Will they first go to the regular nurse's office and then she will determine if they go somewhere else?
So procedures if anyone is sick with a symptom of COVID. So like I said, our goal is going to be to educate what the symptoms are. And if they come to the clinic, they're only entering the clinic. Our clinic will be our sick room. And so anybody coming into there is symptomatic and has a mask on. We are going to have a little drive-through window in the clinic door so that they can be evaluated before they come in. Think of it kind of like at a walk-up clinic. You're being kind of evaluated before you enter, like a triage. And then and remember, we have one registered nurse. We're working on getting another to have help in there and to help prevent the exposure that we give our nurses in the clinic. But they'll know how to screen for those symptoms. And so those kids will or staff will be triaged at the door, and then a decision will be made about if they're symptomatic and what needs to happen next. So yes, I would say that the Florida Department of Health has been very clear with us on how to handle those situations through webinars, through pamphlets and things that they're sending out to schools, and through our contact at the Florida Department of Health. And so yes, we have those procedures and policies in place about what will happen.
What will happen if a child has a fever or any other cold or flu symptom? Will they need to be tested for COVID or quarantine? What about travel?
So, what about if a child has a symptom of COVID, but we don't know if it's COVID or if it's just a head cold? And kids are still going to get strep throat. They're still going to get ear infections and common head colds. And we can all hope and pray that the regular old flu goes away, but it won't. We are going to give you, anytime that your child has a symptom of COVID, we're going to give you a pamphlet to suggest that you get them tested so that they can get cleared to return to school. But ultimately, you are the parent and you have to make a decision about whether you are taking your child to your pediatrician because you know them and you know that at this time of year when these things happen, they have strep throat. Or you know that your child at this time of year has asthma. But at that point, we would need them to be cleared by your pediatrician with that note before they could return to school, 72 hours at least fever free, with that confirmation from your pediatrician that it's not COVID. Otherwise, we'll be waiting for a COVID negative test return or your 14-day self-isolation at home to see how your symptoms play out. In the information we have from the CDC, it is very clear that if this happens with somebody, then this is the response of the school. So everything, of course, is dealt with on an individual basis, and there's a million different scenarios that we can come up with. What if somebody's husband gets it, and what happens with the teacher? And those are things that we are all running through. But at the end of the day, we have clear guidelines and we have, the Department of Health that will help us make sure that we're following the proper and safest protocols, and we'll always err on the side of safety. I will say one thing. It is going to be very important that if we call you and your child is sick, that you arrive at school within an hour. And if you can't and your work situation is 2 hours away, or if you're in a position where you just can't leave your job, because I know that happens to all of us, then we have to get your emergency contact information updated in Jupiter so that if you say, well, I cannot come, but I am sending my neighbor and she can be there in 20 minutes, or grandma or aunt or whoever, we have to have that emergency contact information updated, and it needs to be robust, because if we call you and your child has symptoms of COVID, you must get here, and we'll give you all the information that you need about where you can take them and what needs to happen next, because I know that can be nerve-wracking in itself. Like, your child's sick and you feel afraid that they might have COVID, and it's hard to wrap your mind around. So we're going to try to take some of the guessing out about what you need to do next, but we need commitments from our families who are returning face to face that if we call you and your child is sick, that you get here as quick as you can.
Will breakfast and lunch be eaten in Imagine Hall or in their classrooms?
So breakfast for morning care only would be eaten in Imagine Hall at the tables. Everyone else will get their breakfast to go to their classroom in a to-go container. We will be keeping the number of people in Imagine Hall to a small capacity while we are in phase 2 in the state of Florida. Once we move to phase 3, then we'll go to 50% capacity in Imagine Hall, and certainly we hope to be at full capacity before the school year is over. Lunch, students will go through the lunch line as normal. I hope you saw we're contactless, so they'll scan their ID badge. They'll take their food while we're in phase 2 in a to-go container, and they'll take it either back to their classroom or one of the outside picnic areas that we're going to have. We believe we'll have at least space for 4 to 5 classes to eat outside each day together. We've ordered more picnic tables. We're still looking for more picnic tables. If you want to donate a picnic table to us, just send me an email. But we would love to get a nice supply of picnic tables on campus to give classrooms that opportunity to eat outside.
How can I do my volunteer hours since my kids will be telelearning for the first semester?
So our parent contract policy and our volunteer policy has a hardship clause and a hardship waiver in it, and we will be applying that to this school year to waive volunteer hours, the volunteer hour requirement for families this year. I know a lot of you still want to volunteer and you still want to help, and there certainly may be things that we can give you to do at home or ways that you can donate to help until we can at a later date have volunteers back on campus, which we hope will happen. But we will waive that requirement for this year because this certainly is a hardship time for all of us. I want to thank you. We sent out a clinic drive for some things that we want to make sure that we stock our teachers teachers up with so we can keep as many healthy kids who just need a mint in the classroom as possible. And then just make sure that that clinic is reserved for ill children or children with symptoms. So that wish list on Amazon was completely purchased in about an hour. So you guys are always amazing at donating and doing the volunteer hours. So thank you for that.
What about the fall picture day? Do you have anything planned for the telelearning kids?
Yes. So, well, first I want to say this. Our telelearning kids are still warriors. So any school-sponsored activity that those kids want to partake in, they are welcome to. And you know what that looks like for every single activity yet, I do not know, but we will figure that part out. We do have Fall Picture Day scheduled, and we will have a block of time where the telelearning kids can come in and get their picture taken. I realize some of our telelearning kids are medically fragile or live with someone who is, and so those may be things that you are taking a pass on for the first semester, and that's fine. But you're warriors, and we want to include you in all our communication and who we are. We're one community, we're one team, we are one school. Whether we are face-to-face learning every day or whether we're learning through Google Classroom every day, you're warriors and you're part of our community, and you will not be excluded from what's happening on our campus. To the maximum amount that we can, we'll include you. I see a question over here about telelearning. Would that be longer than the regular school day? No. The amount of instructional minutes that we'll be documenting for telelearning will be the same as a regular school day. There will be some times where it's synchronous, and that means you are absolutely doing this at this time on this day, and you must participate. Attendance in those things will be taken every day. The grading policy for telelearning will be the same as it is every year. It is not no harm. And if your child wanted to participate in that because they think it's going to be easy, like crisis schooling in Q4 was, then they are sadly mistaken, and we need to have a conversation. Please don't go into it thinking it looks the same. But it will not be longer than a regular school day, and there will be times where it can be asynchronous for you at home, meaning you can structure when that work and when that activity happens. But there will be expectations and a strict schedule about when kids need to be on at certain times to engage with teachers and have attendance taken.
Will there be virtual one-on-one time for the telelearning students with their telelearning teacher?
So the telelearning teachers will be in touch with you, just like when we start calling for our homeroom teachers and they start calling their each family and each child and connecting, which will be happening in the coming weeks. Prior to August, I expect that we'll be in touch with you for face-to-face homeroom teachers. But telelearning teachers will do the same thing. They'll be calling you, they'll be talking with you about school supply list and anything that they want to tweak, because they may not need everything on that list of what the face-to-face kids are going to need them to have. So they'll be going over that with you. They'll be going over expectations. There'll certainly be opportunities for small group and reteach through telelearning or parent conferences and help. So normally we don't like to have just one child and one teacher on a Google Meet at the same time. We would rather do it if there's a group of kids who need more help with something and we're doing a reteach, that we'll do that in a small group. But certainly there will be that individual attention. That's part of who we are. Relationships are central. We don't think that kids learn from people that they aren't connected to, and so that'll be something that we will be doing whether we're face-to-face or virtual.
Will the school have the same scheduling as before of 8:25 to 3:20?
Yes, as of right now, we will still allow students to be dropped off starting at 8 a.m. in the morning, a little bit earlier if they're wanting to eat breakfast, and then we will start our school day at 8:25. And dismissal. So we're going to make videos on dismissal, but basically our kindergarten and first graders with siblings will dismiss at 3:10 this year. And our bus riders will dismiss at 3:10. All other grade levels and siblings will dismiss at 3:20. So that's a little bit of a tweak, but it's right around the same time. Wednesday will still be an hour early. That the reason for that change to dismissal is that it helps us stagger movement, so not everyone's moving at the same time and we're not all commingling at the same time. We want to try to get as many K and 1 and their siblings off campus as we can during that kind of 10-minute block while we're loading buses. We want our buses gone before 3:20, before we start both of our car lines, first, second through fourth on the regular car line side and fifth through eighth on the front of the school car line side. The biggest challenge that's going to come with is that we're going to ask you, if you don't have a kindergartner or a first grader, don't drive your car onto this parking lot before 3:20, because you're gonna keep us from being able to move those kids out. And while I realize that that's different than what we've done before, so is everything. We're reimagining our whole program, so we're gonna need your partnership and your help on that. I also don't want you to just sit on Heartwood Marsh Road starting at 3 o'clock and clogging up the turn lane, because we want to be good neighbors to the people who live around here. And we want them to know we've done so many things to try to alleviate the traffic on Heartwood Marsh by changing our start and end times and purchasing more buses and moving our car line and having, a Lake County civil engineer come out the first few weeks of school and say, hey, how can we make this better and how can we serve our community better? So I don't want to have 100 cars sitting on Heartwood Marsh. Just come a little bit later. We'll have your kids. We're gonna watch them and love them until you get here to get them. But that will be one thing that we need your help and your partnership with. We're not doing the walk-up gate at Dismissal. That's not going to be a safe way for you to congregate in the front of the school and for us to touch the car tags of all those different family members. So I expect there may be some tweaks to that, but that is our plan right now. And we've run it over with several different groups in our SRO for trafficking to see if there's any better solutions for how to commingle the least amount that we can and stagger movement. And that is our very, very best plan after a lot of thinking and hard work.
The walk-up gate was a question, so you answered that.
The walk-up gate is a nose-goes, and we're just as sad about that as you are, because we can get like 75 kids off campus like that through the walk-up gate. So I'm sorry. I hope we can transition back to that soon, but that is a no for right now.
Will the policy change regarding absences if a child is required to quarantine? Will they be allowed to do telelearning if they are sick?
Yes, that's a great question. Will the policy on absences change, and will they be allowed to do telelearning? So there will be non-punitive absence policies in place for students, absolutely. And if a student, so it depends. If a student is sick with COVID, we don't want you to worry about telelearning. We want you to be focused on healing and getting healthy and resting. So we're not going to just assign a bunch of work to a sick student. There's going to be grace that goes along with that. We are going to ask you to communicate that information with us and get us that note so we can have that in our system. But there would be non-punitive absences. If you have a sore throat and a cough, we don't want you to come to school because you're worried about having an absence. We'll be reporting absences because that's one of the things we have to do as a requirement from the state of Florida. But it will not be punitive in terms of what happens to your spot at the school or your grades or anything else. It's just the reporting. And we also need to keep an eye on our attendance so we know the health of our school and our teachers and our building. But then if your child has to self-quarantine for 2 weeks because there's been an exposure and say their whole class and their teacher's out, that whole group of students and that teacher will have telelearning up and ready to go. So there's still continuity of instruction and learning during that time. We're very passionate about making sure that we're giving our kids the best learning experiences they can. They have makeup work to do. We need to accelerate their learning. I'm pounding my table, my computer's shaking because I'm so passionate, but we think we have a good plan for that. We want to make sure our teachers have plenty of time to prepare for that, but that would be the goal, is that if we do have a shutdown or if we have a class out or heaven forbid a grade level or a bus out, that we then move to telelearning and continuity of instruction is included for that.
If your child starts going to school but doesn't feel comfortable, are they able to switch to telelearning?
So if your child starts school and something happens and they're not comfortable, can they switch to telelearning? I will say we're always going to try to give our families what they need. Switching back and forth from telelearning to in-person or vice versa is going to be difficult on the staffing decisions that we've had to make sure that we have enough teachers in the classroom here for the face-to-face, because we've tried to make class sizes smaller based on the number of kids that have chosen telelearning. So we're trying to lower our class size for in-person to allow for less contact in the day and more social distancing space in the classroom. But we will just handle those things on an individual basis.
Can we still drop off at the main entrance?
In the morning, can you still drop off at the main entrance? If you park in the parking lot and walk your child to the front door and wait with them while we clear their temperature before they enter the building. So our bus riders in the morning are going to get off the bus and go through the two side gates because their temperatures are already been cleared, and they're going to go straight to class. So they're not going to enter through the front door. The only people entering through the front door are the parents that have parked in the parking lot and have walked their child up. We'll have social distancing markers for them to be standing and waiting to be cleared. But we do not want you to drop your child in the parking lot and leave. We've actually never wanted people to drop their child off in the parking lot and leave. So this is not new information, people. But we need you to walk your child to the door so that we can clear their temperature. Nicole's laughing at me. So we can make sure that they're fever-free before they enter for the day.
That it leads to our next question. How will temperature checks be handled at drop-off?
Okay, so that's how they'll be handled at the front door. In the car line, we'll have several people out there with thermometers. We're going to come to your car just like we always love to greet our kids in the morning. We're going to come to your car, open the door, and we're going to get the temperature of the kid either while they're right there or while they're standing right there, and their temperature will be cleared before you even drive off. If they have a fever of 100.4 or higher, they're going to get back in your car and go home with you.
What is the class size for a single class in telelearning? Is it interactive or more of a presentation followed up with work?
Oh, it will be interactive in telelearning. So the question is, what's the class size? It varies from grade level to grade level. But it is interactive. The call for us from the state for this innovative learning environment, which is what we're calling telelearning, is to be collaborative, to have the same curriculum and experience to the maximum extent possible as those students that are in the school. So it will be collaborative. There will be live instruction, but even our live instruction in our classrooms isn't all lecture based. It's very collaborative and very discussion based. So I definitely expect that those things will be happening online as well.
Will there be fall sports?
As of now, Lake County is planning fall sports. We've already got a cross country schedule, and we'll be proceeding cautiously based on the information we get from Lake County. We are part of their county sports program, so we will trust their judgment and trust the information that they give us. But as of now, yes, at least for cross country.
Will students be required to wear masks during PE or recess?
Students will not be required to wear a mask during PE or recess. I see here someone else asked about car rider temperature checks. Melanie, I hope that you heard me answer that, because yes, we will come to the car and take them before parents drive off. Will the transcript for this call be available afterwards? We missed the answer regarding telelearning hours daily.
We can download this video and upload it to our YouTube channel.
We can download this video and upload it to our YouTube channel for your viewing pleasure. But Derek, I'll just tell you again real quick because I don't want you to miss it. Telelearning hours will very closely mimic a school day. That does not mean that kids will be on the computer for 6 and 8 hours a day, but it does mean that we will give you a schedule, and part of it will be synchronous, which is when you're online at a specific time with a specific teacher for a lesson, and part of it will be asynchronous with independent work, and you can choose when you do that.
Will teachers from middle school be different for telelearning?
Teachers from middle school will not be different for telelearning. If you're a 6th grader in telelearning, you will have Miss Ragney, first block for reading. You'll have Miss Barclay for ELA. You'll have Miss Palmer for science. You'll have Miss Manning for social studies, and you will have Mr. Kaminka for PE. So no, they will not be different. They will be the same. When dropping off our kids in the car line, do you recommend everyone in the vehicle wear a mask for the teacher's safety? One thing that the state told us is that they recommend, to the maximum extent possible, that the same person drop off and pick up the kids every day from school to help limit exposure in in your in your home, so that you're not exposing your as few people in your family as possible to a different environment. Now, we know you're not going to be out of the car and you're not going to be on campus. Do I think some of the teachers that'll be working in the car line, they'll be wearing masks? They're going to be in close proximity to your car doing temperature checks. Do I think that they would appreciate and respect that you did that when they came to the car to unload your child for the day? Yes, especially if it ends up that your child has a fever and they're putting them back in the car. Yeah, I think that would be a very respectful and kind thing to do for our teachers. Will the after school activities be available, dance class, tumbling, etc.? I'm going to tell you right now, I am not sure. I am going to hold on that. Those are things that I don't have to decide right this minute. And my most important task right now is our operations, well, our safety, our operations, and our academics. And those are all things that we love and that are important to us. But I just want to get kids on campus, get teachers on campus, see how our operations are, see how things are going, and then we'll make a decision about those kind of things. I know our teachers who teach clubs would love the opportunity to do clubs again, but we're going to hold on that and wait and see.
Will the students be on round tables in kindergarten and first grade, or will they have their own desk?
Students will, in kindergarten and first grade, will neither. They will neither be at a round table nor will they necessarily have their own desk, although a few may have their own desk. We have trapezoid tables and rectangular tables. We have been playing around with how to set those up to the maximum amount space possible. I've been very honest, we cannot reach 6 feet, but we're shooting for 3.5 to 4 feet in between tables and student seating.
I only have one PC with 2 children. Will I be able to request a PC in case the hours of their meetings are the same?
Oh, that's a good point. So this person only has one computer and 2 children doing telelearning. If you have multiple children doing telelearning, they are each going to need their own device with a camera. Telelearning students will need to have their cameras on when they're on Google Meets. That will be part of their participation. That will be part of their attendance. They need to be collaborating. We need to see them. We need to know that they don't have their camera off playing video games. We need them engaged in the lesson. So each child should have their own device, and we will handle needs for that on a case-by-case basis. We'll have a way for you to communicate with us if that's a need. Certainly our preference is, if you have chosen this option, that you provide the technology and make sure that you have the internet capabilities to make sure that that's successful for your child in your home. But I would absolutely say it will be essential, because it's at the hours of a school day, that each child has their own device if you're telelearning. You guys have great questions.
If environmental concerns drastically change during the first semester, causing you to allow field trips and other miscellaneous activities, will you invite virtual students to participate in extra activities?
Oh, that's another good question. So if external conditions change and things drastically calm down and we change some of our protocols that we are going to take some field trips, will the kids who have committed to telelearning for the first semester be invited to attend? Absolutely. Again, you're warriors, you're part of our school community. We will not exclude you from any school sponsored events. What that will look like for each time in each event, I don't have all that figured out yet, but we will figure those things out as we go and be as inclusive as possible. We're an inclusive school. We don't exclude people. We include people.
From a child's perspective, how do you think the classroom environment will seem different this year compared to last? Will there be plexiglass dividers and limited contact between friends?
From a child's perspective, how do I think the school environment will change? There will not be plexiglass dividers in the classroom. There will be in the office, where it's high intensity and close contact with people, and a lot of different people. There will be plexiglass in the front to protect our front office workers. It will not be in the classroom. What was the other question?
Will contact be limited between friends?
and how will it look? How will it look? So contact will not be limited within friends. We want to teach students how to be careful. There are some things we're going to teach about, like airplane arms for space, but there will be times when students are in close contact in their classroom. I hope I've been frank in the fact that we want to treat our cohorts of students in elementary and middle kind of as a nuclear family, that we know there's going to be some commingling within those classrooms, but we want to keep it as tight and as small of a group as possible within the classroom. But the classrooms will look a little bit different because our kids are used to sitting in quads in groups of 4, because we do so much collaborative work, and now they're going to be sitting more like in groups of 2, either both facing the same way or at the ends of the table and not face to face. And so our kids are used to face partners and shoulder partners whenever we do our Kagan cooperative learning structures. So I think those things will look different to them. We will not be having like pillows and stuffed animals and carpets and things like that in the classroom for right now. Again, all subject to change. But I think those are the things that they'll look different. But I think we have the most creative and innovative teachers around, and they will find their groove and they will figure out how to make the school day just as normal as we possibly can. We will figure this out. Our kids will learn. This is the time I put my mask on. I'm wearing my mask. If you had told us we would be doing this a year ago, I would have thought that you were crazy. But this is where we are, and we'll rise to the challenge, and we'll figure out how to solve complex problems about what learning looks like through a pandemic when we're all back in school together. And I have every confidence in the world that our teachers will rise to this challenge and strive to make the school day as normal as possible, always erring on the side of safety.
What are the top 3 needs for the school right now? For example, instructional resources, supplies, health and safety items, etc. How can we help?
Oh, how can you help? I will tell you that your encouragement and positive words and your kindness that you extend to me and our whole school community is the greatest gift that you guys can give us. But I get emotional thinking about it because I know what some other schools go through and what school leaders go through and what districts go through, and I just am so overwhelmed with and humbled by your support. So thank you, thank you, thank you. It helps us stay motivated to just do such an excellent job for you guys, because we love our kids so much and I love my staff so much. So I want to make sure that I'm protecting them in every way that I can. But we have a healthy supply of personal protective equipment for our clinic, and we have a healthy supply of personal protective equipment for our staff and our teachers. They'll each get face masks and a face shield from us, and all the things that they need in their classroom for cleaning and sanitizing throughout the day. Touchless hand sanitizer stations, refills for those. We purchased 8 additional picnic tables that are plastic that like fold up, I think from either Home Depot or Lowe's. We would love to get at least 8 more of those to have on campus, to give some outside learning space and to give some additional places for kids to eat lunch outside. I think our kids are going to love to eat lunch outside with their teacher in their class, but just kind of a different place to go because some of the movement on campus and some of the things that we're used to will look different. So I think that our kids will be excited about that. Anything that's on the school supply list that's considered sanitizer or Lysol wipes or things like that are going to be great if we can get them. They'll be gifts for us, but I don't want people to stress out that if you can't get it, that we're not going to have what we need, because I have to give a shout out to our business manager and our facility manager, Debbie Kaminka, who works tirelessly with me and alongside of me and ahead of me most of the time to make sure that we have what we need for this. So I can tell you we have written 3 grants this summer, one for $200,000 for the personal protective equipment and things that we need, and that includes hopefully $100,000 additional in Chromebooks. We've written a grant for another $75,000 in Chromebooks that we don't know if we're getting yet or not, but I'm remaining hopeful. I'm keeping hope in the equation. And then another grant for $19,000, which will help us be able to offer free after school and possibly Saturday tutoring for any child who has fallen behind as a result of the loss of learning from Q4. So that will enable me to pay my teachers to help get some of our kids caught up. So we have just, and Debbie has just worked tirelessly to make sure that we are doing everything we can on our end to get those things in. But I would say immediate needs, because we are going to require masks at certain times, would be any donations of disposable masks that we can keep on our buses and in our classrooms for if a kid forgets it, if they lose it, so that we have something just ready to go. I know that's not something that I want my teachers worried about during the day, is are they going to have enough masks if somebody forgets one. I want them focused on the teaching and learning and relationships during the day, so any kind of donations of masks would be helpful for us. Pumps of hand sanitizer, because that's what we're going to end up having on our buses. Those boxes of alcohol wipes, because that's what we'll be using for technology and like with our copy machines and things, would be helpful for us. And then, the big things right now are we're looking at picnic tables and things like that, but those are a little bit more pricey.
Should parents of younger telelearning students plan to be available to assist their child during the entire school day?
Should parents of younger telelearning students be available to assist their child? I would say kindergarten and first grade. It is going to be the heaviest lift for you for telelearning parents at home. It's going to take them a while to get to learn the platforms. And it's going to take them a while to get to understand how to do things and get it turned in. My belief is that the farther along we go, the more independent that they'll be. Our kindergarten and first grade teachers that are here face to face have the heaviest lift on campus at the beginning of the year, teaching kids, this is how we use this folder, and this is when we do this, and this is how we log into this website. It just takes them a little while, and we're well aware that our first graders haven't been in school since March, and that our kindergartners, if they were in VPK, haven't been there since March. So we know that there's going to be kind of a recoup time into these are the expectations for school. But I do think it'll be a bit of a heavy lift for our kindergarten and first grade parents at home because of the way the state has designed this, that it needs to mimic a school day, and we have to comply with that and create as best of a environment for our families at home as we can based on the requirements that the state has set. So learning to read is so foundational in kindergarten and first grade, and we are absolutely going to need you to partner with us at home to make sure that we are getting your kids where they need to be readers. The foundational reading skills in primary are the biggest, most important skills that our kids learn in grades K1 and 2, and so those are very, very important.
If a student is diagnosed with COVID, does the entire class quarantine for 2 weeks?
If a student is diagnosed with COVID, does the whole class quarantine? First, let me tell you that if we have a positive COVID case on campus and I let you know that your child's been exposed, I will never tell you who it is or where it came from. That's absolutely prohibited. And I had a question from somebody face to face one day who asked me that, and I was like, well, I just want people to know, just don't even ask me that question and put me in that position, because our staff will absolutely maintain confidentiality for anyone that we come in contact with. But if something happens and your child has been exposed, we will work with the health department to contact trace that person's steps and your child's interactions with that person to as close of a circle as we can, and then determine who needs to self-isolate for either 10 days or until they get a negative test result back. If it is an entire classroom, that entire classroom would move their learning from face-to-face to telelearning with their same teacher for that amount of time.
So if a student is diagnosed with COVID, will the entire school be notified, even if that student may not have come in contact with your student?
I do not believe that if there is a positive case in the school that we would notify the whole school if your child did not come in contact with that student. I do not believe that that would help protect the anonymity of anyone. But I will say, if there's a CDC decision tree about what to do and what kind of spread you have, and if there's a community spread and multiple cases on campus, then I do believe that there may certainly be a time where the entire school is closed, either for a few days for a complete deep clean and hospital grade, medical grade clean on the campus, or for a period of time where everyone is self-isolating and letting things calm down. I really hope that we don't get to that, but we will follow the CDC decision tree and the Florida Department of Health recommendations if it does come to that. So we'll be prepared if we are. We'll be prepared to move everybody to telelearning very quickly, and our teachers will have that information up and ready to go, so hopefully it'll be as seamless as possible. I see a question about hand sanitizer from Melanie. Will they have hand sanitizer at their desk? Will teachers help remind the younger students to sanitize? We will have sanitizer stations mounted in each classroom that are touchless by the door. So there will be multiple times a day where teachers are asking students to go sanitize. There will be multiple times a day where teachers are disinfecting high touch and high traffic areas within their classroom, things like the pencil sharpener, cleaning the doorknob with a disinfectant each time that they come and go in the classroom. I was laughing. I said, our school's going to be so clean. We've never been so clean as we will be this year, but we definitely will have procedures and schedules in place for both sanitizing hands in the classroom and time to wash with soap and water.
Will masks be required during instruction, and are students allowed to wear masks in class if they wish to?
Students are allowed to wear masks in class if they wish to, if all day if they want to. I don't know that we would recommend it for outside activities like PE and recess, but if they're in the classroom and it makes them feel safer and relieves their anxiety by wearing a mask, then we're going to support that decision that you and your child have made together. That's a personal decision. There may be times when people are instructing, if we're in close proximity, that we ask students to wear a mask, but we have had the goal of social distancing enough in the classrooms that they do not have to just sit at their desk with their mask on all day, especially when they're with that cohort that we already know they're commingling with already. The exception may be things like special areas when those teachers have, like for art or music or STEM, they've been exposed to several grade levels throughout the day. And so just for everyone's protection, including your child's and theirs, there may be times more often in those classes where students are asked to put their mask on than others. But our goal is not to have it for long periods of time all day long.
Should I pay the Aftercare registration fee just in case, even though my students won't be going to Aftercare until the second semester?
I don't think you need to worry about paying the Aftercare registration fee now if you don't, because if you're not coming to school in the fall, we have no idea what'll happen between now and then. The state's only approving our plan for the fall. We're not even looking or thinking about spring yet, and that's good because I can only process so many things at once. We're not thinking about graduation or aftercare for the fall. If we get to that point and we're planning, we won't wait to start planning for that till January. We'll start planning, months before. But if it looks like we're going to be able to have more people and more people want to come back on campus in the fall, and it may be that everybody is going to be required to be back on campus in the fall, then we'll just send out another registration for aftercare. So I don't think that's anything you need to worry about now.
How many students will be in each class?
The number of students in each class will vary because the number of students joining telelearning is varied from each grade level. So, our primary classrooms are smaller. We're looking at, in some cases, 14 to 16. Our third through eighth, you're looking at closer. I'm sorry, third through fifth, you're looking at closer to 20. Middle school's a little bit higher, but we have more middle school students transferring out every day. So it varies a little bit by grade level, depending on who is, how many kids from that grade level have chosen telelearning.
Have you discussed a plan B if the school cannot prevent continuous COVID cases, and how will you communicate the school's cases to parents?
So, communication to parents about anything that's going on will come through Jupiter grades emails to you, and reminds. And if it's especially important, then it would come through both of those places. And we'll try to make sure that we're communicating in all those different areas. Just general information about what's happening and attendance things will come through our Warrior Weekly newsletter. We report out our attendance. We've always done that, so that's not new. So we'll keep doing that way. In terms of if we can't control the spread, the shutdown of the school will not be my decision. The state has mandated that schools are open 5 days a week. But if it becomes a problem in this school, I can guarantee you it's a problem in many places. I don't think that it would be unique. It would be very odd for it just to be unique and narrowed down to one school. And then I think that the state or the Department of Health would take over at that point and tell us what needs to happen next.
Will students doing telelearning also have specials?
Students doing telelearning in K-5 will absolutely have specials. They'll have an opportunity to interact with specials once a day. And students in 6 through 8 will have an elective signed to them in 6th and 7th. I know for the first semester it's PE, and 8th I think it's computer application for the first semester. So yes, those electives and special areas will happen for our telelearning kids.
How will testing work for virtual students from regular class exams to other testings?
How will testing work for virtual students, for telelearning students? So star reading and math you'll be taking from home so they'll be live on a Google Meet so that we can monitor them for fidelity purposes while they are taking their star reading and math test. Those diagnostic tests and progress monitoring tests for us are more important now than ever, so we can diagnose and see where everyone is, what was the learning loss, and what do we need to do for each individual child to help get them able to master this current grade levels standards. So those will be taken live over a Google Meet somehow. We're getting more information from that. I think we have a call on that next week. In terms of any kind of assessments and things that are assigned, they would be assigned directly through Google Classroom, through Google Forms, through Google Quizzes, through some of applications we have purchased for Google, like Wiser. We're going to use Zern for math. There will be quizzes and tests and things on there. So those are things that we will be asking students to sign an agreement that they'll complete their work with integrity. And there are, some little things built into those programs that will help us know and make sure that we're not Googling for answers, along with the fact that we know the best practices to make sure that we're getting authentic understanding of students from there. But they'll have grades entered in Jupiter just like every other child that's face-to-face, and the grading policies will be exactly the same as face-to-face.
If a child normally takes different special classes in speech therapy, will they be able to continue?
Any student who's an exceptional learner and has an IEP, we will be working with you individually on what your telelearning accommodations will be and how we'll meet those services. But you will absolutely have full access to your full scope of services and accommodations through telelearning if that's the option that you've chosen.
Even though my students will be telelearning, should I still come to the school and update their physical forms?
Yes, if your students are telelearning and you have physical forms or school records that we need, they're still students here and their files are here and we need them updated. So yes, please bring, and you can drop those off in the front office if you have those things. Nobody's asked about card tags, but I do want to talk about that because one thing that I want to make sure we have done before the first day of school is that you have your card tags, and not hosting those in-person open houses will cause a problem for that. So kindergarten and first grade families, you will get your card tags at the open house that you come to by scheduled appointment. Everybody else, we are going to run 2 days of basically you pull around the front of the school and we bring your card tag to you. We'll also bring you, if you ordered a yearbook or spring pictures, we'll give those to you at that time. August 3rd, that Monday, the pickup times are from 2 to 6 p.m. and you'll just drive to the front of the school. You don't even have to get out. We'll bring it to you. And August 4th, that Tuesday, the pickup times are from 10 to 2 p.m. and we'll do the same thing. So please put that on your calendar that you'll be here at one of those 2 times to get your child's car tag. If not, you will need to stop in the office sometime that week, Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday, to get your car tag so that you have them for the first day of school.
The yearbooks are only available for those who pre-purchased.
And yearbooks are only available for those who pre-purchase them. We have a list. So if you didn't quite get one this year, next year when the information goes out, order that baby as fast as you can. Okay, we're going to do, what time is it?
It is 8:07.
Okay, we're going to do 3 more questions, and then we'll archive the rest of the questions and do a FAQ document again if we need to. But you can also rewatch this thing to make sure that we didn't answer it earlier.
If we choose that we want our student to have their own sanitizer at their desk as they wish, to sanitize as they wish, is that an option that will be allowed?
Yes, but we've always allowed students to carry their own sanitizer. So if you have one of those little things, I'm going to ask that you not send it in like a toy. They have all kinds of fancy things that they're held in. Please don't do that to us. Just send them in a little regular old plain bottle of sanitizer. And then that would be a personal responsibility thing that if you want to tell your child, you know, every time you get up and go back to your seat, I want you to do this, that's fine. We're going to tell them to do it at certain times of the day. But yeah, if they have their own and they want access to their own close by, that's fine.
You answered this, but I think this person came in later. If my child usually uses the bus but is doing telelearning, will they have a seat in the spring?
So if your child normally uses the bus but they're telelearning for fall, we will not be able to reserve their seat, but we do anticipate when spring rolls around that there may be some changes. And if there are open seats, we would give priority to those students who have already been established bus riders in the past. So, and Derek Williams asked, will work for telelearning be daily? Yeah, if you go back and watch, and we'll answer, and we'll be publishing telelearning schedules in the next couple weeks. But yes, it will be daily. It will be during school hours. It will be very structured times where students are expected to be online and doing work. So it will be very different and has to mimic an actual school day.
Can students still get dropped off 10 minutes early in the car line and wait in Imagine Hall until 8 a.m.?
We cannot have students waiting in Imagine Hall this year at 8 a.m. because of Aftercare and the capacity limit. I'm sorry, because of Before Care and the capacity limit that we'll be placing on Imagine Hall to keep that a safe space. So we may start car line a little bit early in terms of, because we don't know how long it's going to take us to take all those temperatures of those kids. We have thermometers and they move pretty quickly, and we'll have plenty of people out there helping. So we're going to play that by ear. We'll let you go ahead and line up there, but no student should exit their car until they have been cleared and be on campus. We'll have people out there, but I don't know when that we'll be able to let them out prior to 8 a.m. Unless we can find a safe place for them to sit and be supervised prior to the start of the day. So let me think through that one a little bit more because it is helpful to the car line to do it that way, I know.
Is there a dress code for masks?
The only dress code for masks right now, and I reserve the right to change my mind because I've never been a principal in a pandemic with masks, and I can imagine some of the problems we're going to have, but not all of them. I would say they need to be school appropriate. They shouldn't have things on them that you wouldn't wear on a t-shirt to school. So they should be school appropriate. They do not have to be Imagine masks. Shirt Shack is selling Imagine masks just for your convenience. We have some cute gator masks and net gaiters, or face coverings we're supposed to call them, in net gaiters for sale in the front office, and the face shields. We're not going to try to dictate what those look like. I would say if you buy a face shield that's a hat, let's not have any writing on the hat. But if you love a patterned mask and you love unicorns and your child loves dinosaurs, you know, those things will help us differentiate mask a little bit. So I think it'll be helpful. I would always have a backup mask or two in my child's backpack just in case they lose theirs somewhere along the way. I would look at the breakaway lanyards that the people are using so that the mask is always on your child's person. The face shields we like to give as an option just so everyone feels like they have a choice, and we know different students have different needs and preferences. One thing to consider with the face shields, if your child is younger and moving around all day, is those are a little bit more cumbersome to keep track of and move around on campus, but we're not going to make the mask part of the uniform policy for now.
The last question that I see is, can you post the school's needs on the website?
Last question. Can I post the school's needs on the website? Absolutely. You guys are amazing. So Debbie and I went through our PPE inventory today of what we have, what we know is coming. And then we said, these are more things that we want to get. So we will send an email and we'll post it on our reopening page, a wish list, and maybe create that through Amazon too. We'll see what they have. But that's very humbling and overwhelming to hear, so thank you. Okay, thank you for sticking with us in this longer than hour Facebook Q&A at the beginning. I didn't think we were going to have any Q's to answer, but thank you. I really appreciate you joining us and helping us think through and make sure that we're thinking through everything to make sure we don't have any big holes anywhere that we need to fill. And thank you for joining us and choosing Imagine Southlake, and give all our warriors big hugs from us and tell them that we love them. And even though we're not together, we think about them every day that we walk around this campus and that they're not here yet, and we can't wait to see them. Have a great night, everyone. Good night. Thank you.